It was the morning of December 18, 1944. The forests of the Ardennes lay buried in frost and silence. Through that silence came the heavy rumble of German engines. SS Commander Joachim Peiper stood beside his King Tiger, his eyes fixed on the town of Stavelot. His orders were clear: seize the bridge, break the American line, and fuel the advance of the German counterattack. But the clock was against him, and his mighty Tigers were too slow for what lay ahead. Peiper called out, "Bring me the Panthers." Sleeker, faster, and desperate for glory, they rolled forward, engines growling through the cold air. As they raced toward the bridge, gunfire cracked from the opposite riverbank. American defenders waited with steady hands and cold hearts. The first shell struck true, igniting the lead Panther's rear and turning steel into a pyre. Yet the second tank did not stop. It charged through flame and fear, crushing the American gun beneath its treads. In the frozen morning light, war had come to Stavelot. The bridge at Stavelot was no ordinary crossing, it was the lifeline of the German offensive. As the surviving Panther raced across, every bullet seemed to scream against fate itself. Behind it, Peiper's King Tigers growled forward, their massive forms shaking the ground. But even victory carried a cruel cost: flames, smoke, and the ghosts of those who had already fallen for a single stretch of frozen stone. Major Paul Solis, the American commander, saw the massive Tigers closing in. He knew the town was lost, but he would not let the enemy take its lifeblood. His men set the fuel dump ablaze, a sea of fire in the frozen dawn. From his tank, Peiper watched his hopes go up in smoke. He needed that fuel. His plans, his timing, all were slipping through his gloved fingers. Hours later, the long-awaited reinforcements arrived. Obersturmführer Jürgen Wessel led his heavy Tigers into Stavelot's burning ruins. The bridge still stood, but barely. His tanks moved forward under a sky heavy with smoke. The Americans were waiting, their M10 tank destroyers sighted in. One shell struck Wessel's Tiger like a hammer on an anvil. His loader screamed. The gun jammed. Yet through the pain and chaos, Wessel shouted, "Forward! We hold this bridge or we die here." Just as the Germans began to cross, the air itself turned into a weapon. Out of the clouds came the roar of P-47 Thunderbolts, the angels of destruction. Rockets streaked downward like the wrath of the heavens. In seconds, the bridge became hellfire. Men screamed, engines burned, and what was once a proud column of steel now lay silent beneath a sky torn apart by thunder. When the night came, the Germans tried a different kind of weapon: deception. The Stahlhelm commandos, dressed as Americans, rolled across the bridge in stolen jeeps, praying their disguises would hold. But the Americans had learned their enemies' tricks. From the shadows came the rattle of machine guns. In an instant, the masquerade ended in blood and flame. No one made it across. At dawn, a King Tiger, tank number 222, crept forward through the fog. For a moment, the battlefield was silent. Then came the strike. An M10's shell tore through the Tiger's armor, shaking the crew to their bones. A second, then a third, ripped through the beast. Smoke filled the cabin. The commander tossed a smoke grenade and fled into the mist. Another German giant had fallen. The Americans knew they could not hold Stavelot forever. But they could deny it. A handful of engineers crawled beneath the bridge under heavy fire. Bullets splintered wood and stone above their heads as they wired 1,000 pounds of explosives. With a single spark, they sealed the town's fate. The explosion echoed through the Ardennes, a roar that ended Peiper's advance and shattered his dream of victory. By December 20th, the Battle of Stavelot was over. Peiper's tanks ran dry, his men trudged on foot through the snow, and the mighty German spearhead turned to ash. Stavelot had burned, bled, and fallen, but its bridge had denied the enemy's dream. Peiper would survive the war, but his name would forever be tied to its horrors. In the end, it was not the might of tanks, but the courage of engineers, that changed the course of history.